Ever feel like history is just a bunch of boring dates? Think again. What if I told you that 5 of the most world-changing moments in Catholic history all happened on the exact same day? It's honestly mind-blowing how June 16th became the ultimate main character of the church calendar. From secret apparitions that changed millions of lives to the high-stakes politics of the Vatican, this date is packed with drama, mystery, and history that hits different. Today, we're speed-running through 5 epic events that shaped the world. The 1675 Great Apparition. We're talking about the moment St. Margaret Mary Alacoque saw the Sacred Heart of Jesus in a vision that changed Catholic devotion forever. The 1846 election of Pope Pius IX. Get ready for the story of the longest reigning pope in history and how his election shifted the entire trajectory of the modern church. The 1216 death of Pope Innocent III. We'll look at the end of an era for one of the most powerful leaders to ever sit on the papal throne. The 1875 foundation of the Sacré-Cœur. Discover the story behind the breathtaking Basilica in Paris and why it was built as a massive act of national penance. The global spread of the 12 Promises. Find out how the church turned these life-changing spiritual rewards into a movement that swept through families across the globe. Are you ready to see how these dots connect? Let's dive in.
On June 16, 1675, during the octave of Corpus Christi, St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, a visitation nun in Paray-le-Monial, France, experienced what is known as the Great Apparition. In this vision, Jesus revealed his heart as a symbol of his immense, often unrequited, love for humanity. He lamented the ingratitude of men and explicitly requested that a specific feast day be established to honor his Sacred Heart. He asked that the Friday following the octave of Corpus Christi be set aside for this purpose, emphasizing that the faithful should receive communion and offer acts of reparation to make amends for the indignities suffered by the Blessed Sacrament on altars worldwide. This event is the foundational moment that led to the universal institution of the Solemnity of the Sacred Heart, which remains one of the most significant devotional pillars in the Catholic Church today. The vision provided not only the timing for the feast, but also served as the primary catalyst for the spread of this devotion throughout the world, defining the spiritual character of the month of June for centuries.
On June 16, 1846, the College of Cardinals concluded a papal conclave and elected Giovanni Maria Masti Ferretti as Pope Pius IX. This event was of monumental historical significance, as it marked the beginning of the longest pontificate in the history of the Catholic Church, spanning 31 years and 7 months. His reign was characterized by immense turbulence and transformation, beginning with a period of liberal reform and evolving into a staunch defense of papal authority against the backdrop of the Risorgimento, Italian unification. During his tenure, he defined the dogma of the Immaculate Conception, 1854, and convened the First Vatican Council, 1869 to 1870, which defined the dogma of papal infallibility. The election on June 16th set the Church on a trajectory that would define its modern relationship with the secular world, as the loss of the Papal States and the rise of nationalist movements forced the Vatican to reevaluate its global role, eventually leading to a more spiritual rather than temporal focus for the papacy.
Pope Innocent III, one of the most powerful and influential popes in the Middle Ages, died on June 16, 1216, in Perugia. His death marked the end of an era that saw the peak of papal political authority. Innocent III was instrumental in asserting the plenitudo potestatis, fullness of power, arguing that the Pope was the vicar of Christ and thus held supreme authority over all earthly kings and princes. During his reign, he launched the Fourth Crusade, instituted the Albigensian Crusade against the Cathars, and convened the Fourth Lateran Council in 1215, which introduced significant reforms to church life and canon law, including the formalization of the doctrine of transubstantiation and the mandate for annual confession. His passing signaled a transition point for the Church, as his successors would eventually struggle to maintain the absolute political leverage he had established over European monarchs, ultimately shifting the Church's focus toward the complex internal developments of the late medieval period. On June 16, 1875, exactly 200 years after the Great Apparition of 1675, Cardinal Guibert, Archbishop of Paris, laid the first stone of the Basilica of the Sacred Heart of Montmartre, Sacré-Cœur. This act was a deliberate symbolic gesture, aiming to place the city of Paris under the protection of the Sacred Heart, following the traumatic events of the Franco-Prussian War and the Paris Commune. The construction of the basilica was envisioned as a national act of penance and reconciliation. By choosing the date of the bicentennial of St. Margaret Mary's vision, the Church firmly linked the physical construction of this monumental Parisian landmark to the spiritual mandate given to the nun 2 centuries prior. The project became a beacon of Catholic identity in a secularizing France, and its dedication to perpetual Eucharistic adoration reflects the enduring impact of the 1675 revelation.
While the vision of the Sacred Heart occurred earlier, it was on June 16th of various years in the late 19th century that the devotion, and specifically the 12 promises of the Sacred Heart, reached peak popularity through standardized devotional literature. Throughout the 1800s, June 16th served as the liturgical and devotional pivot point where the 12 promises, a series of spiritual rewards for those who venerate the Sacred Heart, such as peace in families and consolation in times of trouble, were disseminated to the faithful via parish missions and popular prayer books. This date became the focal point for promoting the First Friday devotion, which involves attending Mass and receiving Holy Communion for 9 consecutive months. By the late 1800s, the Church's promotion of these specific promises on or around June 16th fostered a massive grassroots movement, transforming the Sacred Heart into a central domestic devotion that brought the theology of divine love into the daily lives of millions of Catholic families. If you found this historical deep dive interesting, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel reach more people. Make sure to share this with your friends, family, or fellow history lovers. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another journey through the archives of faith and history. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did you know about the significance of this date before watching? Let me know below.